Programming assignments 9 and 10 are a little bit longer in terms of their written instruction, not necessarily longer in the amount of time you'll spend implementing them, but longer in their written instruction than previous ones. We're talking about more complicated systems now because you've got the tools to be able to handle that. So I just wanted to talk our way through Programming Assignment 9 and 10 so that you'll be able to get started on them in a reasonable fashion and know what I want. So you might want to follow along by looking at the Programming Assignment 9 and then Programming Assignment 10 instructions. I'm going to focus on this diagram that I've got in Programming Assignment 9. Here's the class hierarchy. I've given you a class called Employee Runner. You don't have to make any changes at all to this, except when you open it up in Eclipse, it's going to complain about error after error after error until you get all of your other methods and classes working properly. Don't change anything in Employee Runner. Those errors will get corrected if you do the rest of your work properly. Now, I've also given you an employee class. This one's an abstract class, and it has an abstract method in it. You don't have to change employee at all. You might want to open it up so that you can look at it. You definitely have to copy it into your Eclipse workspace so that it's available. Now, subclasses of employee, the ones that extend employee are salaried employee. You don't need to do anything to salaried employee. In fact, it's a model for you of what you need to do to some of the others. Now, you do have to create your own hourly employee class. It'll be similar to salaried employee, but you'll have to create your own hourly employee. It extends employee, and since employee is an abstract class, it has to have in it any abstract methods that employee requires its subclasses to have. You're going to create something called a commission employee, and you're going to create something called a base plus commission employee that extends commission employee. Now let me just talk about what these types of employees are. The whole point here is that you're going to be building a simple payroll system to pay employees each week. And some employees are salaried. That would mean they get the same amount of money every week no matter what. They put in 40 hours, they get paid their weekly salary. They put in 41 hours, they get paid their weekly salary. They put in 12 hours, they get paid their weekly salary. I've already implemented that one for you. An hourly employee is somebody that gets a particular salary for each hour worked. So let's say you earn $10 an hour and you work 40 hours. You'd get 10 times 40 or $400. Suppose you worked 30 hours at $10 an hour. You'd get 10 times 30 or 300. But there's one complicating factor here. We're going to assume that if you're an hourly employee, if you work more than 40 hours, your employer is required to pay you time and a half overtime. Meaning, let's say you worked 41 hours at $10 an hour. The first 40 of them get multiplied by 10. The next 1 hour, because 41 consists of 40 and 1, gets paid at $15 an hour, 1.5 times as much as your hourly salary. So you're going to have to figure out how to do that for hourly employee. A commission employee is somebody that just gets paid a percent of everything that she or he sells. So for a commission employee, suppose that your commission is 10%, which we'll implement as the number 0.10 in Java. And the sales for the week were $1,000. You sold $1,000 worth of things, you'll get 10% of that. 0.10 times 1,000, you get paid $100. And a base plus commission employee is somebody that has some of the characteristics of a salaried employee and some of the characteristics of a commission employee. Base plus means you've got a base salary. Let's say you earn $300 every week plus 10% of sales. So you'd get $300 plus 10% of everything you sold. Some of what you're going to be doing is the same as a commission employee, which is why we have it extend commission employee, so that you can take advantage of that code that you've written. But you're going to have to also add in this new base salary. So what are you going to do? You're going to copy employee runner, employee, and salaried employee into your Java project in Eclipse. And you're going to create hourly employee, commission employee, and base plus commission employee, and follow all of these instructions. And the whole thing is worth 15 points. 5 points for each of the 3 classes that you have to create. How are you going to test this? Let's open up Eclipse. I've done one where I've implemented program 9 for you. I'm not going to show you the code for it, but to test it, I run employee runner. So I've got employee runner open here. I'm going to run it, and this is what you should see. It's going to go through a loop that says, hey, create employees. I'm going to ask for a first name. Let's get my first employee is going to be first name of Han, last name of Solo. Social security number is, he's number 1. Enter employee type, 1 for hourly, 2 for salary, 3 for commission, and so on. Let's say I decide to make him a salaried employee. Then it asks me, what's the weekly salary? Han Solo gets $5,000 a week. Do I want to create another employee? Sure. I'll type yes, first name Leia, last name Organa, social security number is 2, and let's make her an hourly employee. What's her hourly rate? She makes $20 an hour, and she's going to work 50 hours. Do I want to create another employee? I'll say no. And it prints out for each of the ones, here's their name, here's their social security number, here's information that depends on the type of employee. Han Solo was salaried, so it tells me his weekly salary, and then it computes his earnings this week, $5,000. Leia Organa was an hourly one, so she has to have both an hourly salary rate and hours worked. It figured out her earnings. How did it do that? The first 40 of these were paid at $20 an hour. 40 times 20 is 800. The last 10 of these 50 is paid at 1.5 times this salary rate, so at $30 an hour. So 10 at 30 gives me 300, plus 40 at 20 is 800. 300 plus 800 is 1100. Okay, now let's look at what you're going to be doing in Programming Assignment 10. Programming Assignment 10 extends what you did in Programming Assignment 9. You cannot work on Programming Assignment 10 till you have completed Programming Assignment 9. Now, what's different about it? You'll recognize this hierarchy is what you had in Programming Assignment 9. Now, in Programming Assignment 10, I've added an interface called Payable. And employees are payable, but so are invoices, just bills that I get. I have to pay my employees, and we've already worked that out, but I also have to pay the electric bill, and I have to pay the internet bill, and I have to pay the rent on my factory, and so on. I've given you invoice. You don't have to create it. It implements the payable interface. I've given you a new program to use to test called Payable Runner, and I've given you a new copy of Salaried Employee that implements all the stuff we need to implement in this new Programming Assignment 10. You're going to have to now create this interface. You have to create the payable interface. You have to create the employee file. But you can take the one you did from Programming Assignment 9, which I gave you in Programming Assignment 9, copy it over to your Programming Assignment 10, and there are a few changes you have to make to it. You have to make it implement the payable interface. and that might mean some other changes. Then you're going to create an hourly employee. I would suggest you use the one that you did for Programming Assignment 9 and just modify it for this assignment. Similarly, commission employee, base plus commission employee. What are you going to be doing here? Mostly making sure that you implement this interface. You have to create the interface and then make sure that everything underneath it does what it needs to implement that interface. We are also going to be introducing a static variable into employee. And so you're going to have to know how to work with static variables. So let me just show you a session in Eclipse where I would run the payable runner. You don't have to change payable runner. You just need to execute it to test your program. So enter data for first employee, Luke Skywalker, social security number, employee type, let's make him hourly. His hourly rate is $10 an hour. He only worked 5 hours this week. Do I want to create another employee? Sure. I will create employee Darth Vader. His social security number is 2. We'll make him a commission employee who earns 50% commission, and he sold a Death Star this week, and that's an awful lot of money. Do I want to create another employee? No, I don't. Now it's going to ask me about invoices. So what's my invoice number? Okay, I'm going to call that invoice light bill 001. Make it anything you want. Enter the date when the payment is due in the form year, month, day. 2014-0401. Enter the amount owed on this invoice, $5,000. Do I want to create another one? No. So here's what it tells me. It tells me about my 2 employees. Notice it was able to tell me that there were 2 employees. That's coming from the static variable that you're going to be keeping track of. Here's my first employee, here's my second employee, here's my invoice, and then the total that comes from all the employees and all the invoices. So you're going to want to test your code, having as many different versions of things as you think you need to make sure your code works. Happy programming.